Real Dence Nay. For more information about Real Dence Nay, please WhatsApp and check out the business site. Thank you, Real Ones. The Pride Month. Pride Month commemorates the ongoing pursuit of equal justice for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer community and celebrates the accomplishments of LGBTQ individuals. The event that catalyzed the gay rights movement occurred the 28th of June, 1969, at the Stonewall Inn in New York City. Police raided the establishment, which was a popular gathering place for the LGBTQ community. They arrested employees and patrons of the bar while pedestrians watched. Riots ensued in response, lasting about 5 days. At the Eastern Regional Conference of Homophile Organizations in Philadelphia, gay rights activists proposed the idea of a march in response to the Stonewall events. The march occurred on the 28th of June, 1970, the first anniversary of the Stonewall riots. To celebrate Gay Pride, the event was named the Christopher Street Liberation Day March after the street that was the epicenter of New York City's gay community. The Pride March in New York inspired others to occur across the country in solidarity. Thereafter, gay pride celebrations expanded globally. In the United States, LGBTQ Pride is a month-long celebration, with marches occurring throughout the month of June. Gay Pride or LGBT Pride is the promotion of the self-affirmation, dignity, equality, and increased visibility of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender, LGBT, people as a social group. Pride, as opposed to shame and social stigma, is the predominant outlook that bolsters most LGBT rights movements. Pride has lent its name to LGBT-themed organizations, institutes, foundations, book titles, periodicals, a cable TV station, and the Pride Library. Ranging from solemn to carnivalesque, Pride events are typically held during LGBT Pride Month or some other period that commemorates a turning point in a country's LGBT history. For example, Moscow Pride in May for the anniversary of Russia's 1993 decriminalization of homosexuality. Some Pride events include LGBT Pride parades and marches, rallies, commemorations, community days, dance parties, and festivals. Common symbols of Pride are the rainbow or Pride flag, the lowercase Greek letter lambda, the pink triangle and the black triangle, these latter two reclaimed from use as badges of shame in Nazi concentration camps. The term Gay Pride was crafted by Tom Higgins, a gay rights activist in Minnesota, 1969 plus. Brenda Howe, a bisexual activist, is known as the Mother of Pride for her work in coordinating the first Pride March in New York City, and she also originated the idea for a week-long series of events around Pride Day, which became the genesis of the annual LGBT Pride celebrations that are now held around the world every June. Additionally, Howard, along with the bisexual activist Robert A. Martin aka Donnie the Punk, and gay activist L. Craig Schoonmaker are credited with popularizing the word pride to describe these festivities. Bisexual activist Tom Limoncelli later stated, "The next time someone asks you why LGBT Pride marches exist or why LGBT Pride Month is June, tell them a bisexual woman named Brenda Howard thought it should be." Main article, list of LGBT actions in the United States prior to the Stonewall riots. The 1950s and 1960s in the United States was an extremely repressive legal and social period for LGBT people. In this context, American homophile organizations such as the Daughters of Bilitis and the Mattachine Society coordinated some of the earliest demonstrations of the modern LGBT rights movement. These two organizations in particular carried out pickets called annual reminders to inform and remind Americans that LGBT people did not receive basic civil rights protections. Annual reminders began in 1965 and took place each the 4th of July at Independence Hall in Philadelphia. The anti-LGBT discourse of these times equated both male and female homosexuality with mental illness. Inspired by Stokely Carmichael's Black is Beautiful, gay civil rights pioneer and participant in the annual reminders Frank Kameny originated the slogan "Gay is Good" in 1968 to counter social stigma and personal feelings of guilt and shame. Early on the morning of Saturday, the 28th of June, 1969, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender persons rioted following a police raid on the Stonewall Inn, a gay bar at 43 Christopher Street in Greenwich Village, Manhattan, New York City. This riot and further protests and rioting over the following nights were the watershed moment in the modern LGBT rights movement and the impetus for organizing LGBT pride marches on a much larger public scale. On November 2, 1969, Craig Rodwell, his partner Fred Sargent, Ellen Brody, and Linda Rhodes proposed the first Pride March to be held in New York City by way of a resolution at the Eastern Regional Conference of Homophile Organizations, ERCHO, meeting in Philadelphia, that the annual reminder, in order to be more relevant, reach a greater number of people, and encompass the ideas and ideals of the larger struggle in which we are engaged, that of our fundamental human rights, be moved both in time and location. We propose that a demonstration be held annually on the last Saturday in June in New York City to commemorate the 1969 spontaneous demonstrations on Christopher Street, and this demonstration be called Christopher Street Liberation Day. No dress or age regulations shall be made for this demonstration. We also propose that we contact homophile organizations throughout the country and suggest that they hold parallel demonstrations on that day. We propose a nationwide show of support. All attendees to the ERCHO meeting in Philadelphia voted for the march except for Mattachine Society of New York, which abstained. Members of the Gay Liberation Front, GLF, attended the meeting and were seated as guests of Rodwell's group, Homophile Youth Movement in Neighborhoods, HIM. Meetings to organize the march began in early January at Rodwell's apartment in 350 Bleecker Street, 23. At first there was difficulty getting some of the major New York City organizations like Gay Activists Alliance, GAA, to send representatives. Craig Rodwell and his partner Fred Sargent, Ellen Brody, Michael Brown, Marty Nixon, and Foster Gunnison Jr. of Mattachine made up the core group of the CSLD Umbrella Committee, CSLD-UC. For initial funding, Gunnison served as treasurer and sought donations from the national homophile organizations and sponsors, while Sargent solicited donations via the Oscar Wilde Memorial Bookshop customer mailing list, and Nixon worked to gain financial support from GLF in his position as treasurer for that organization. Other mainstays of the organizing committee were Judy Miller, Jack Willuster, Steve Gerry and Brenda Howe of GLF. Believing that more people would turn out for the march on a Sunday, and so as to mark the date of the start of the Stonewall Uprising, the CSLD-UC scheduled the date for the first march for Sunday, the 28th of June, 1970, with Dick Leach's replacement as president of Mattachine NY by Michael Cottis in April, 1970. Opposition to the march by Mattachine ended. Christopher Street Liberation Day on the 28th of June, 1970, marked the first anniversary of the Stonewall riots with the march, which was the first gay pride march in New York history, and covered the 51 blocks to Central Park. The march took less than half the scheduled time due to excitement, but also due to wariness about walking through the city with gay banners and signs. Although the parade permit was delivered only 2 hours before the start of the march, the marchers encountered little resistance from onlookers. The New York Times reported, on the front page, that the marchers took up the entire street for about 15 city blocks. Reporting by the Village Voice was positive, describing the out-front resistance that grew out of the police raid on the Stonewall Inn 1 year ago. There was also an assembly on Christopher Street. 3 presidents of the United States have officially declared a Pride Month. First, President Bill Clinton declared June Gay and Lesbian Pride Month in 1999 and 2000. Then from 2009 to 2016, each year he was in office, President Barack Obama declared June LGBT Pride Month. Later, President Joe Biden declared June LGBTQ+ Pride Month in 2021. Donald Trump became the first Republican president to acknowledge LGBT Pride Month in 2019. But he did so through tweeting rather than an official proclamation. Beginning in 2012, Google displayed some LGBT-related search results with different rainbow-colored patterns each year during June. In 2017, Google also included rainbow-colored streets on Google Maps to display gay pride marches occurring across the world. At many colleges, which are not in session in June, LGBT Pride is instead celebrated during April, which is dubbed Gaypril. Pride Month is not recognized internationally as Pride celebrations take place in many other places at different times, including in the months of February, August, and September.